Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I am Geoff.
And I am Eddie Cruz.
And today we have another special guest. The specialist of guests?
He's a very, very, very special guest.
He's special.
He's incredibly special.
Our friend Bobby.
Hello.
That's Bobby.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So today we are doing Season 3, Episode 1, Anne.
Anne.
Yeah.
Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this is. It's like the Die Hard one. You didn't get that?
It's not. I don't think that's
not true.
Anne Boleyn.
Anne Boleyn. Yeah, it's exactly that. Just like the Die Hard one.
Yeah. We'll name some more Annes and then decide what this is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Bobby, how did you get into Buffy, or what do you know about Buffy? Just tell us some shit.
Are you into Buffy?
Yeah, we'll start with that.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Nice.
I liked Angel as well. I liked the spinoff, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
You have any particular episodes you enjoy, or?
I really like the, I can't remember the name of it. It's the one where
Just
everyone
describe
goes mute.
Hush.
Hush, yeah. That's definitely
That's-
my favorite.
That's my favorite. I think it's one of the favorites of the series.
Yeah.
But in a recent poll done, didn't even make it top 10, right? Or top 5.
By some, BuzzFeed, whatever.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Really?
Bunch of bullshit.
My favorite
bunch
is
of
actually
millennials.
Killed by Death. It's the one where she gets sick
Oh,
and
Jesus
goes
Christ.
to
Shut
the
the
hospital. And
All right.
No,
it's time to get a new host.
It's not.
I guess we're finding somebody else. We both just replace each other, and some two other guys take over for us.
I can do that.
Let's do that.
I
Because
can-
I get mad and kick you out, but then you kick me out.
Sounds like Guns N' Roses.
You end up with Buckethead.
Bizarro, Geoff and Eddie.
Yeah.
So, Eddie, what was this episode about? What happened?
Well, it opens up on a classic vampire rising from the grave, right? We have a classic scene. Something that you would see at the beginning of a series or beginning of a season, I mean.
Or even kind of like typical of Buffy
Yeah.
in general, that graveyard scene.
Graveyard pans up the legs of who you consider to be a Slayer. It's not a Slayer. It's Willow dressed up like Buffy,
Yeah.
right?
Come
and
get it, big boy.
says, "Come and get it, big boy," ruining any kind of chance of having a really good Buffy quip. Yeah. No Buffy quips in this episode. Just a shitty one from Willow.
She had some. She was quipping, right?
Buffy quipped when she started fighting the.
Oh, yeah. As soon as she started...
Yeah.
Well, she's also in the episode,
Yeah,
which
Buffy
is
the vampire.
obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there were Buffy quips.
So yeah, it's not. Thankfully, it's not
Well,
Willow
this
the Vampire
scene-
Slayer.
This scene has no Buffy quips.
Yeah.
Well, it just has one shitty one from Willow.
Yep.
So Willow says that they end up getting kind of their butts handed to them.
Yeah, it's basically the Scoobies trying to take over for Buffy and doing a shit job at it.
Yeah, essentially the vampire runs away while Oz tries to throw a stake at him and just doesn't. He hits one of the graves, right?
Which is a great scene because in any other superhero television show or movie,
he would have made it.
Yeah,
It would have been awesome.
dust, vampire gone.
Yeah.
But no, it's kind of a pathetic throw. which-
Xander quotes that, or Xander brings up the fact that Willow said, a shitty quip or a shitty pun.
Yeah.
And then they all kind of get up and walk away talking about how they miss Buffy. Right? They're like, "Oh man, Buffy's gone, and we took it for granted while he was here. This fucking slaying shit's really hard."
Yeah, so they're establishing everything that's going on in this episode and the fact that she disappeared at the end of the last one.
Yeah.
So because of that, they now have to take over the slaying, and they also miss her as a person.
Yeah.
So they
And
also mentioned the next day school is starting as well.
that they go on what I would like to call the exposition walk. Right? Right after they try to fight all these vampires, they start walking away and they're like, "Tomorrow's the first day of school and Buffy's been suspended." And they're like, "You think Buffy will show up?" And they're like, "No, she got kicked out. She can't show up, even if she wanted to."
Which I hate and like at the same time. I hate that it's bullshit exposition, but if we're watching this as the show, 3 months later, it's like, wait, what the fuck happened?
So they cut to Buffy, and she's on a beach, right? And it seems like it's the beach from Go Fish.
Yeah, it's the same location.
Same location. Buffy's being held by Angel. She just stabbed him and killed him. And then she got suspended because Snyder's evil. And she left. She fled, and she became this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was Angel was evil, and then right at the end, he got his soul back. Had to kill him anyway to save the world.
That's
so she's that's why she's super bummed out.
Right.
She's bummed out.
Why she has a dream about him.
Yeah, so she has a dream where he's holding her, and he's like, "I'll be here until you send me to hell," or what does he say? Like, I'll be here until I die.
Even after you kill me.
Yeah, even after you kill him. He says that?
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even know.
There's some cheesy lines that even if I was blind, I would find you.
Yeah.
Seriously, man. Super cheese balls. So when she wakes up, you find that she's working as a waitress in a shitty motel, and her name is now Anne, right? And she goes to her shitty motel job. Anne Frank, yes. Anne Boleyn, Anne Frank, Anne of Green Gables. These are all her AKs. She's like fucking Sean Combs. She's like Jay-Z.
She's like Puffy?
Yeah, just like 7 names. Changes
Diddy.
one every 2 days. All right, so she goes to work, and she, I guess, runs into my worst nightmare if I was a waitress, right? You go up to a table, and you have this shitty, 2 dumb...
Well, we don't know yet they're dumb, but they are dumb.
She comes up to a table, and it's 2 dumb teenagers that are like poor and bitchy, I guess, or like essentially pull out like a piggy bank, drop it all over the table, and go like, "What can we get with this?" kind of thing.
I just say naive.
Right? Naive. So she ends up asking them what they want, and they're like, "Let's get cake." And he's like, "No, bro. Lily girl, we gotta eat healthy, bro." And she's like, "We gotta eat pie, because pie's healthier than cake, bro."
I don't remember him sounding like that.
He sounded like this, bro.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, Lily, bro.
Lily, bro.
I wonder how much change that actually was. Could that add up to enough to buy a piece of pie?
It felt like $1.50, maybe like 2.
What I was thinking, it's like,
Yeah, there was a
we
lot of
might have
dimes
some
in there.
old ass shit in the back that we were gonna throw out, and I'll give you.
Yeah, I think that was probably the whole thing
Day-old
that she was
stuff.
doing. Yeah.
Which maybe if that were the case, she could have said something like that in the episode, and
Yeah.
either way,
I mean, it doesn't really matter, right?
No.
I mean, when it really comes down to it, they're a plot device. So she brings them their pie, or does she bring them their pie? I don't really remember. Did she ever make do with the pie? She
I don't
says
think
yes.
so.
I'm assuming they got pie, whether
Right?
we
She
saw it
doesn't
or
take
not.
the money or anything. The change is still laying around the table, and she's like, "I'll be right back with your pie and some waters." Before she leaves, though, she does get shown their new tattoo, right?
Yeah.
So they put their arms together, and they have one of those shitty hearts that say like Lily plus Ricky. So boom, now we know their names, and we have an identifier.
And that's
for
why
it.
they have no money for
Yeah.
food or the
Oh
pie.
yeah, they spend all their fucking money on tattoos.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
To the point where you can't afford pie or rent
Probably for that day
or anything else.
like I paid on Thursday and I got paid on yeah, I think I did that to that point.
I don't ever remember you being that fucking dumb though. Like
No,
like,
and I didn't
can't-
ever like I didn't like
You
get
were
a
homeless.
tattoo and then was like, all right, well now that I don't have money, I'll go to Village Inn. I just went home and didn't spend money.
I've always wondered why you have that Ricky tattoo on your arm.
Yeah,
And now it
the
all makes
half
perfect
heart.
sense.
Yeah, that guy had very, very nice earlobes.
Okay.
I loved Ricky.
That I did not see that one coming. I thought it was going to go in a different direction.
No, his dick was also nice. Very pleasantly shaped.
So do we go to the school next, or where's the?
Yeah, we cut to the school, and Willow comes into the library wearing probably the dumbest hat I've ever seen in my life.
Is it like a blossom hat?
Yeah, it's like a blossom hat that's not like the thing. The saving grace of the blossom hat has a flipped up front, right? That makes that hat like nicer, right? It softens it.
Is there a saving grace? Of
I don't know, but I'm
blossom
trying
hat?
to make one because this hat was worse than that hat.
It's-
like I see
Is
that
the
hat,
blossom hat wider? Did it have like a wider brim?
maybe a
I
wider
can't-
brim.
It,
It
was
felt
flexible.
more 90s. This one felt like a mixture between like a
Charlie
fedora.
Chaplin?
Yeah,
It was like a bowler hat,
like a bowler
a
hat.
purple bowler hat.
Yeah, it was hideous. Another boner killer for me, in my opinion.
But are you ever like? I mean, I guess when Willow turns into like a vampire, has those episodes, are you ever like, wow, her attire, she looks awesome?
Yeah,
Maybe
just
later
like,
on.
Always, just like she's super hot. I've always liked Willow. Willow's super hot to me. She's
Okay.
always been super hot to me.
Even with her overalls and everything.
No, not anymore either. Like, she was always super hot to me back then, I should say. But I don't know. I think she got hotter as the seasons progressed, and she like found her own. I think they did a really good job, like making her evolve in both her confidence and hotness. Like as she became more confident as a person, she became more hot. But at the same time, at this point,
she no longer dressed like a a patch doll.
And you also saw like a smoking hot body in the Halloween episode, and her talk about sticking a fucking flute in her pussy in that movie about fucking pies.
Whoa. Even though you are correct, it's still...
It's not right. Yeah. All right, well, I won't say that anymore. All right, so she talks about Giles about the safety, like keeping safe while slaying, right? Essentially, she's like, oh, we're doing a good job, and we're making sure that we're safe, and our motto is don't get hurt, right?
Or is it don't get killed?
Don't get killed, right? And he just makes a point about how they probably shouldn't be patrolling and how incredibly dangerous it is because none of them are the Slayer.
See, but he's done that before, just all like willy-nilly.
He's definitely taken the shoes of Buffy and gone slaying. So, as far as the season or series goes, did you ever rewatch seasons 1 and 2, Bobby?
Really long time ago.
So you're more about
3 on.
All right, we're going to talk about that later then.
And I got another quick question for you. When did you start watching Buffy? What was it?
Probably like 12 years ago or something.
So not during the initial run,
no.
but like after. Yeah. Okay. When the DVDs were out, but before Netflix existed.
Yes.
Okay.
You probably watched a lot of Buffy when we lived together because we had all the fucking DVDs because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably didn't want to at first, and then maybe started to like it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Oh, this is on. All right, it's happening.
You like came over and we're like, hey, there's no Netflix yet, so sit down, buddy. You're in for a ride. We're watching this for the 4th time today. Yeah, you want to watch that Tenacious D video again?
Or we can watch Malibu's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was always playing on HBO.
Yeah.
And I think Netflix was actually the verge of bankruptcy around that time. So I remember, like, in 2004, they were almost going to go under. I remember that.
Before they blew up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We shouldn't say there wasn't Netflix because we got the discs in the mail.
Yeah.
No, we did
Just
Netflix.
No streaming services.
Oh, yeah, we did do Netflix, but it was still, like, they didn't have a distribution center around us. So, it, like, you'd order it
Took like
and
a week.
like, be like fucking a week. That was lame. I would still go to the Blockbuster down the street, though. I loved that Blockbuster.
It was good when they started doing their disc in the
You were
mail.
the only person that joined that I've ever met.
Well, the coolest thing about that is because you would get them and you can go and turn them in at the store and get other stuff.
Yeah.
It was better.
So anyway, let me just go ahead and ask him here. Why do you not watch season 2 more than you watch the rest of Buffy?
And again, it's been a while, but I remember it just being incredibly campy, not to the point of not being good, but it just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing yet.
Dawson's Creeky, maybe
right.
even,
yeah.
and maybe like not a cohesive.
Yeah, they
story.
didn't have their stride yet.
I think honestly, the move from 13 episodes to 24 or 22, sorry,
22,
from 13 to 22 really was challenging, probably because they made the Monster of the Week was very heavy in season 2, and they weren't very. Like, they didn't really integrate those into the other ones. Anyway.
Eddie and I have talked about this, too. If they would have cut that season, maybe even to, like, 18 episodes, season 2 would have been great.
Fucking amazing.
But there's several that are like, oh, my God, this
I
sucks.
would say there are 4 episodes that really fucking put the shit in that punch bowl. You know what I mean? Like
2 for sure.
Yeah.
Hands down, 2.
Yeah, two for absolute sure. 4 if you just want to get all the muck out. And just have a good season.
And Supernatural was that way too. It was just Monster of the Week the first 2 seasons.
Oh, it's still kind of every time I try to watch it now, I'm just like, oh, you suck.
It's Monster of the Week for like the first 2 decades, and then
it's like
decade 3
season 11
right.
is still just like, I love you, brother. Oh, you're in trouble.
Come on, Sam.
I'm gonna save you, brother. I'm gonna do everything I can for you, Sam. You gotta fight. You gotta fight, Sam. Oh my God.
You haven't done a Dean impression in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Back, yeah. I guess we stopped shitting on Supernatural for a while.
Yeah,
just kind of focused on Buffy.
It's kind of like Trump. We got too much of it. So Willow meets up with. Willow just kind of does another exposition walk.
Yes.
Right. She ends up walking down. Like she goes in and talks to Giles. She's like, "No, we're gonna be safe, bro." Then walks out of there, walks onto the lawn. Cordelia comes up to her.
Yeah, I feel like this whole school scene is exposition, and you get a lot of stuff, all the Scoobies getting back together, talking. Xander is excited about seeing Cordelia, and Cordelia is in turn excited about seeing him.
But they're both downplaying it, like neither one of... Well, no. They're not... They're downplaying it to each other, but they're both kind of like hyping it up so much to everyone else. Like Cordelia's just like, I can't wait to see him. Has he said anything about me? Has he seeing anybody? And then fucking they cut to Xander talking to Willow right after that, and he's like, oh my god, when we see each other, it's gonna be, you guys could get away because it's gonna be an explosion of passion.
Yeah.
And then they end up seeing each other, and it's not either of those things. It's just like kind of a dud, and they start arguing.
So let me ask you this about, again, their relationship. Cordelia leaves for the summer, right? Mm-hmm. They don't talk at all.
No, well, she goes on a cruise, right?
I guess no
and this
cell
is before
phones.
Cell phones,
and there's
really
no, like,
email.
I mean, there is email, but not
email.
on a cruise.
Yeah.
And they're in a
Wi-Fi.
relationship, right, that I thought was committed. And are both of them worried about other people meeting somebody else?
Yeah, I
It's
think
just
they
like
are.
that-
Well,
I think
she
it's-
talked about the Asian girl, I guess.
No, the Inca mummy girl. She's
Oh.
like, oh, and I know about you and that Inca mummy girl. And she's like, I've heard things. I know stuff.
Is that weird, or is that like
No,
fine for
I mean,
them
other than
being
the fact
teenagers?
that girl turned out to be a mummy, she was at the school, and there are rumors at school, so that makes sense. They're teenagers, that works.
Okay, sure.
But at the same time, also, it's just like how volatile. I don't know personally because I didn't date anybody in high school. Fucking nobody. I tried almost once. Almost once I dated somebody, and I didn't date her. But I could imagine it's very fleeting in high school. Like one day you're in love, the next day you're not.
And it's a weird. It's a weird dynamic between seeing like that, their relationship, and Buffy, and she's still dreaming about Angel. So I
Yeah.
guess their relationships are clearly in two different places as far as them caring about each other.
So Oz also comes up and tells Willow some stuff that she didn't know. Apparently, he failed junior year of high school. He didn't make it through, right?
Well, I thought he was a senior, and
She was a senior the last season, right?
He was, right?
And he was supposed to graduate, but he got held back because he didn't have enough credits.
Although he's the smartest person in the school, right?
Yeah,
Or one of them.
But she also like makes mention to the fact that he's also the laziest. Like she's like, well, I'll be out of school by then, and you'll be waking up. Like just like completely just layabout. And it does make sense because, I mean, after everything's over with everything and they go to the comics, he becomes kind of a Buddhist monk that just chills out and meditates, right?
So I guess he's not lazy. He's just on a different wavelength
super
spiritually.
chill, bro. So right after they cut with the exposition walk that Willow does, they cut to really sad music, just like da 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 da, and Buffy's staring at a can of soup.
The Arrested Development song, the Scooby one.
Well, it's a yeah, not Scooby. It's the Snoopy song.
Snoopy, yeah, sorry.
I think she has a can opener on top of the soup while she's staring at it.
She's just like, I tried opening this for the 5th time today.
Is it that inconsistent Slayer strength? She no longer has the ability to...
Essentially, I think she could probably just bite through that can, right? Think she has like super Slayer jaw strength? I think she could do it.
Or rip it in half, maybe?
I mean, that would be messy.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to rip it in half
You'd
to get it all
lose.
in your mouth.
Well, her
You
place...
lose a lot of soup.
Let's describe her place. Her place looked like shit. I know that's the point because she can't afford that much.
It looks
but
like the Warren Inn.
all of her stuff is just everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine her having that much stuff because she just left. It's not like...
Well, I think it's all of her stuff is there, but I think it's also just an ugly room. So it's just like kind of one of those prepaid apartments where they have prefurbished stuff. They have all this stuff lying around already, and all of her clothes is on top of it.
And then I got the impression that she's so depressed she could give a shit whether it's clean, dirty, all of her shit's out everywhere or not.
Yeah.
That's not where her concern lies.
Yeah. She might as well be in a sewer trying to feed off rats.
Yeah.
So I wrote down here, she is poor. That's established.
Yeah.
Cut to Giles talking about finding a new lead. So this whole time he's been essentially looking for her and failing and trying to find a lead on vampires, thinking that she went on some crazy vampire crusade, which I think is really stupid of him to assume.
I guess it's just kind of wishful thinking.
Yeah.
That's instead of
like, not only did she leave, but she's still carrying out her duty. No.
Well, also, none of the Scoobies know what really happened with Angel. So they don't know that she went through this traumatizing event. They're all, oh, she killed Angel, that's traumatizing enough. And it's not Angel with his soul, the person she fell in love with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe he is kind of blind to the fact that instead of her being upset about that, it's like, oh no, she's doing her duty. He'd rather think of her that way than depressed and living in like the Warren Inn.
Yeah. Walks out of her shitty apartment, and Lily comes up to her, and Lily's like, Buffy, and she turns because she's an idiot and can't hold a fake persona for more than 5 minutes. No, I'm joking. That's too hard on her.
And I'm sorry, but she was walking for like 6 hours apparently, because it was like the middle of the day, and then she's still walking, and that's when she runs into
She was just following her.
And it's dark, like it's dark at night.
Walks for a half a mile, and it's like, so she turns and sees Lily, and Lily's like, I knew it. And Lily reminds her, like, hey, I was in that stupid cult vampire thing, and you saved my life. And
in the Lie to Me episode.
In the Lie to Me episode with Ford. So she comes out and essentially is just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm intruding in your life. Hey, you want to go to this party? Hey, it costs money. Do you have any money? And I thought that was all kind of bullshit. I kind of feel like that first interaction was just try to get Buffy to go with her to this party so she could pay, so she could get into this party.
Maybe, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've met people that kind of live like that existence, and it's really annoying.
So this isn't the point where Ricky's gone, right? It's later on.
No, so right now she's not looking for Ricky. She's just like, hey, I just wanted to make sure it was you, and blah blah blah.
Just establishing a connection.
That's why
right?
that's why I think she wanted her to pay for the party. Because it really feels like she just really wanted $5-10 to get into this party.
So at this point, you think Lily's just is she oblivious or a piece of shit or both?
No, kind of like an oblivious moocher. Like one of those people that's like incapable of taking care of themselves, and it's like really annoying because you have to fucking watch them and take care of them, but at the same time they're not malicious.
It reminds me of when we were like right out of high school. We had a lot of friends or at least acquaintances that be like, hey, can you do this? And constantly asking for favors, sometimes money or rides.
Or weed.
Yeah, and then when we're all like, no, man, this like we're poor. None of us have money. We're living on our own. They'd get offended like we were the biggest dicks in the world.
I remember one of them started drawing and then like coming around with drawings and be like, can you want to buy this? I'm like, no, that's the shittiest drawing I've ever seen. Like, I don't want to buy... Like, that's the same thing as asking me if I have any money and I'll give it to you. Leave me alone. I want to ask you guys at this point, like, do you guys feel like this kind of feels like an Angel episode? Bobby, do you feel like kind of that tone in this one?
Yeah, it's a little bit darker, it seems. A little bit leaning towards that.
Kind of like maybe a damsel in distress episode. Do you think so, Geoff? Because it really had that tone for me.
And I was thinking about, did they ever mention where she is?
No, it might be L.A.
I was thinking L.A., but normally there's like some sort of establishing shot, or is it just some generic L.A.-looking place? It looks like a bigger city.
It does.
And seeing that, I definitely felt more like it's an Angel episode, or what will be an Angel episode than a Buffy one.
And kind of like a person seeking her out for her help. That's another Angel kind of aspect of it. It really did feel like the tone of it was very, very Angel-esque. A Monster of the Week, but it really, really cool tone. I liked it. I like this Monster of the Week, too, because it's so self-contained, but it was epic in its own way. So when Buffy says, like, no, I don't really have any money, but you know what, I'll give you money so you and your boyfriend can go see or go to the show or whatever, Lily gets super offended and walks away. So maybe I'm wrong, but she gets all like butthurt that she doesn't want to go with him.
It could be, and I didn't see this in the episode, but maybe it's that she wanted to have a connection with somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And And Buffy saved Lily at one point. Maybe she's like, oh, maybe I can help her in some sort of way.
No, right on. That's cool. Maybe. But at the same time, if you can't really help yourself, how are you going to help somebody else?
Emotionally?
Yeah, or also just friendship. Maybe she was just looking for a friend. Yeah, that's good. She could help her that way. So Lily ends up leaving Buffy angrily and runs into Ken. And Ken gives her a flyer, and it has a picture of his dick on it. No, gives her a flyer for a lost youth center, and essentially just says, like, hey, you look like you're in need of a friend. And gives her his flyer that says, like, are you in need of a friend? And so it's like, go to this address.
At this point in the episode, when you all first watched it, did you think that there was something going to be weird about Ken?
Yeah. He seemed like the total bad guy.
And the way he, like, creeped up,
to be honest, floated
behind her to give her the pamphlet or ask her what's wrong. That was
that one
creepy.
That scene definitely was, but like initially, did he? I don't know. He seems like a goofy dude.
I can't answer that because it was so long ago that I first saw this episode. But there's always got to be a bad guy, right? So, process of elimination, he's probably the bad guy.
It's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
And once you know what happens that episode, every time as soon as he comes up, you're like, oh, well, here comes the demon dude.
See, I was thinking like I think he played it off really well.
Yeah, he did a great job
about being just a goofy guy that it's will throw you off initially watching.
He's not at that John Ritter level, but he's like under that for a Monster of the Week character. He did a good job.
And can I say this about Ken, or at least the actor who played Ken? He's one of, I think, 2, max 3 people who were in Buffy, Angel, and Firefly.
Yeah. And Seinfeld. Right, Bobby?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive.
I think you're all right. I remember him dating Elaine, but I don't remember what happened in that episode.
I don't know why she broke up with him, but at the same time, she did that, or that plot line was used so many fucking times that it's hard to keep up with all of them. So we cut to the Bronze, and Xander bitches to Willow about Cordelia and his troubles with her, and she the whole time is talking about Buffy, and he's making everything about himself, and essentially they're doing more exposition talk, right? They're just nailing home the fact that they miss Buffy, and he's also talking about how hard it is right now, working his differences out with Cordelia over their lost summer.
Willow seems like he cares. Willow seems like she cares a lot more about Buffy than Xander does. Xander's like too much up his own ass and thinking about like Cordy and sex and
to the point
whatever.
where later he just says like, "Fuck her, I don't care anymore."
Well, I think because the basis of their relationship is this like anger or hatred or fighting. And if it's not there, there's almost no passion. So they don't know what to do when they're actually nice to each other.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Very dysfunctional.
So then we go back to Joyce doing her taxes angrily.
Was she doing taxes?
She was doing something. She was like maybe working out her budget for the month or maybe paying bills.
I thought she was just writing on a notebook, "Fuck Buffy," over and over again.
It's like all like The Shining style.
Yeah.
I can't stop this hand.
So that's when Giles comes over, right?
Yeah. So Giles stops by and essentially he says that his lead was a dud and it was just like a cult of kids acting like vampires, and it wasn't actually vampires. And then he reassures her that Buffy's probably not in danger.
She's super capable.
She's a slayer. And he's like, you shouldn't blame herself because she left. And she's like, I don't blame myself. I blame you. And that might be something that's kind of like understandable, right? I mean,
well, she's trying to cope with.
Right, she's trying to cope with that, but also think about the fact that,
reason.
Like, around the age of 14 or 15, a guy secretly met up with your daughter, trained her in the ways of kung fu, and sent her out to fight the forces of evil at night behind your back.
Yeah.
Well, I think that would be pretty fucking badass. Yeah. I'd more be all,
I can't.
You didn't tell me this?
I'd be
That's
like,
awesome.
Oh my god, my daughter is dope.
But as a mother being lied to, that's fucked up. But I think Joyce still isn't a likable character at this point.
No, she's so mean.
She doesn't have a lot of redeeming qualities.
And I think while she was doing her taxes, there was one of those glasses of vodka sitting right there too.
And do you think that scene is there so it can hit home with Giles that maybe he is in part to blame for this as well?
I think there's that, and also just an understanding of how much the adults are forcing a teenager to go through in this Slayer predicament. Like, they're essentially coming to terms with how much they put on Buffy to the point where she like left, and maybe she was right to leave because of all the pressure she was under from all sides.
I would have liked a bigger argument from Giles. Giles was too nice about it. He should have been all, oh yeah? Well, you never noticed what the fuck was going on?
That's
Are
something
you fucking kidding
you
me?
and I would do, not something Giles would do. I think that that's like something like kind of hard-headed dudes that can't take criticism.
Reminds me of Mark Maron in Glow.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah? Well,
Yeah. Well, fuck you. Like, that's how we are, but
fuck you. You didn't know what the fuck was going
I
on this
think
entire time.
Giles has to be a little bit more patient than that.
But it makes him way more likable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than Joyce.
Definitely. I agree. So essentially that ends with more sad music and a cut to the restaurant where Buffy's new homeless friend Lily comes to bug her at work. And essentially it's just like that friend that you really regret making friends with.
Yeah. Again, Lily thinking, well, I wouldn't say she's thinking only of herself. She's thinking about Ricky, but she's bugging her at work.
Yeah, she comes in and she's like, I can't find my boyfriend. And Buffy's all like, well, chill out, man. I have a 9-hour shift right now, and I make $2.13 an hour plus tips. It sucks. Leave me alone. I had to refill all these ketchup bottles.
Next time I see you at work, Bobby, I'm going to come up to you. Bobby, I can't find Jen. And you'll be, okay, well, can this wait till afterwards?
I bother him at work all the time.
For your missing baby mama?
Yeah, I'll go in there and ask you about that. Mostly it's just because I'm going in there to buy gallons of alcohol.
That's okay.
Hey, Bobby.
Which is weird because it's a pet store. He works at a pet store. So I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
It's behind the counter.
Moonshine. So essentially Buffy and Lily get together and go look for Ricky. And the first lead they have is to this medical clinic or hospital of some sort, right? Maybe like an urgency care center.
Care, yeah.
It looked like the office of one of those places.
Yeah. So they go in and they ask one of the nurses, like, hey, have you seen this guy? And she's like, oh, him? No, I haven't. So they leave and Buffy comes back in the middle of the night and finds a bunch of records that have a conspicuous kind of thing that says like approved at the bottom for some kind of maybe, I don't know, secret something.
So she breaks in.
Yeah, she
right?
breaks in, yeah. And then a gigantic, huge nurse comes up behind her and is like, can I help you? And Buffy turns around. Well, she says it maliciously. Buffy turns around and is like, yeah, you can tell me what the heck this approved means, and you can tell me where Ricky is. And she's like, I'm calling the police. And Buffy just grabs the phone off the wall and rips it and breaks it into pieces.
She was pretty badass in the scene.
That was pretty dope. And it makes me think, like, how awesome she would be if she didn't have to hide who she is because she's a teenager.
Yeah, the cool thing was seeing her, like, all no fucks given instead of, like, oh, you know, I'm not supposed to be here. I might get in trouble. She's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's kind of like what the Slayer would be if she didn't have to put up with a bunch of other things.
So I did want to talk about Lily a little before this scene. She blames Buffy.
Yeah, she ends up going essentially kind of ballistic on Buffy. And
while Buffy is trying to help her find Ricky.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to help you find Ricky. And she's like, is this your fault? Are you doing this? I mean, bad things follow you. It seems like wherever you go, bad things happen.
Is Lily just that dense? I
think she is, but also it's kind of one of those easy things, you know. She's not very smart, so she's gonna blame, you know, the first person that's around her.
And is this like the whole Joyce thing, where it's like, I don't know how to deal with this person that I love in my life is gone. It's your fault.
Would you say that too?
Yeah,
I agree.
No, strong parallel.
So when she leaves again angrily, she meets Ken again, but this time like he comes up behind her, like up over her shoulder, and is like, hey.
In
a dark alley.
Yeah.
I wonder what this shot would look like. You know how so this is in what, like a 4:3 perspective, and the scenes are supposed to be a little bit longer, right?
You mean
like
the
wider?
actual wider?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. So they did shoot it that way. The aspect ratio was shot that way, but Joss Whedon swears that he prefers it to be seen in 4:3
because there's a lot of weird stuff with like crew members being shown, right?
They didn't film it so 6:9 could be what was presented. They filmed it as 4x3, and they had a bunch of stuff in the corners size, and just a lot of dead space.
I ask because it just seemed so weird that he just kind of like...
It's literally like he comes like past a wall or a corner.
Yeah.
And it wasn't casual at all.
It's kind of like Xander falling off that hill.
It was creepy. This was the creepiest part, or at least before he's just kind of a goober. It's like, whoa, get away, dude. Why are you sneaking up on me so fast?
So he comes up behind her and just goes, hey, and like it's like, hey, you doing okay? Hey. And they kind of like cut back and forth between this scene and Buffy going back to investigate more, even though Lily was totally mean to her, and she finds a dead old man next to a bottle of Drano and moves his arm to find that tattoo that says Lily. Not faded at all.
It aged very well.
It aged incredibly well. Apparently, you get older, but your tattoos still look amazing.
Different universe, different roles. Okay.
So she's like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. And she ends up going back into, I guess, the area where Ken is, while he is making Lily put on a bunch of like cult ritual
burlap
sack kind of thing. Yeah, right?
Why is he doing that?
Because everybody's got to wear a burlap sack in hell.
He didn't want her clothes to get dirty.
Yeah, they save them for you. So when you leave, you have clothes to wear.
I know it's supposed to be a ceremony, but why would he do that if he's just going to use her for slave labor?
I don't know. Maybe they sell the clothes. Maybe like their second thing is like one of those like uptown chic...
Cheapskate?
Cheapskate, like fucking clothes retail outlets where they sell used clothes like Goodwill, but at a markup like 500%. Okay. That's what I would do if I was an evil dick.
I mean, if you're using all this slave labor, like, does it even matter?
Well, yeah, I don't know. What are they making?
I don't know.
What are they making down there? Well, let's get to that.
I was going to say chains. It looked like they made chains. Because everywhere there was fucking chains.
That's the chain factory. That'd be cool if that was the case and her name was Alice. So Lily's distraught because Buffy finds Ricky old and dead.
Old and dead. Well, I think she's more concerned about him being
by
dead.
drain cleaner.
Yeah. And so she goes with Ken, and he is about to, I guess, soak her in this black-looking liquid.
Well, wasn't that like the gateway?
Yeah, it seems like one of those like Stargate. Remember that movie Stargate, where like all of a sudden normal air becomes wavy and liquidy, and like that's the portal to the hell dimension.
It's a crappy CGI portal.
Yeah,
or something
to anything in the 90s. If you had to go to another dimension in the 90s, it looked like this.
It was a goop. Black
and she does protest that it looks a little dirty, but
yeah,
I think red flags would happen when you're like sinking your
The funny thing is, I think she says it looks a little dirty before the audience sees it. And it's like, that's not dirty. It's like tar. It looks like tar.
Like I would use motor oil.
I would say just like default, I wouldn't put my hand in it. And she put her hand in it. Gross. Anyway, Buffy fights her way inside because she at first is like, oh, I want to change my ways. I need somebody to help me. I need guidance. I'm bad with the sex and the drugs. And then she ends up just kicking everybody's ass and walks in to Lily and Ken, essentially making Lily put her hand in there. Lily gets sucked in. Ken grabs Buffy, and they both fall into the muck, right?
Yeah, to this different world.
So when he falls down and hits the muck or the ground, his mask comes off, right?
His human mask.
Yeah, and he looks exactly like Freddy Krueger. For the third time, yeah, we have for the third time we have a Freddy Krueger looking monster.
Yeah, I think this one looks the most like it so far.
Without the hat. I mean, the other ones looked like they had the actual maybe silhouette of Freddy Krueger down more, but this one, the mask actually looks a lot like a Freddy Krueger mask.
Did we talk at all about why Ricky is old?
No. Okay. Like as far as that, not yet.
Okay.
So they land, and essentially Buffy gets overpowered by all the demons, right? After his mask falls off, he gets all of his minions who have horrible masks. Bobby pointed out.
The teeth moved while they talked.
Right? Like essentially the mask looks so rubbery that these fake teeth would bend while they opened and closed their mouths.
Didn't even notice that.
It was really bad. It was pretty bad. We cut back to the Scoobies, and Xander and Cordelia are arguing while a vamp attacks Willow, and the vampire ends up moving over towards them. Xander falls. Cordelia hits the vampire, falls onto Xander. They sandwich the vampire with a stake between them, kill the vampire, look at each other, cue the music, and they start making out.
And they finally have that passion back.
That passion back, which is a kind of I guess, the same thing as when they touched hands in that room. Essentially, maybe I don't know what you think about this, but maybe it's Joss Whedon or whoever the writer is of this episode saying that their love is circumstantial to their situation.
Yeah, I felt that it was they either need to be fighting or in danger, and once they're in danger, it's like, oh my god, and there's all this passion. But if not, then there's nothing, which is a weird thing to put in this episode because it's kind of changing their relationship from here on out.
Yeah,
I didn't get that a lot last season. There was some bits, but you saw a more fleshed out version where at least Cordelia seemed like she was falling in love with Xander. And now it's kind of the summer's over and it's reverted back to this more, I don't know, like
a light romance. I think this was just basically written this way this season to maybe slow down their romance, because maybe they knew that Cordelia was going out with Angel. Like, not going out with Angel, but like leaving the show to go do Angel.
And also what's going to happen with Willow later on. Maybe to soften that blow a bit?
Maybe, yeah, or lead the march towards that. So after this, they cut back to a prison cell, and Ken comes in and goes like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? So let me explain what's going on in grave detail, and says like, okay, well, you guys fell into a hell dimension, and they're like, now I'm going to work you to death to make all these chains, because we're in a chain factory, if you didn't notice. And they're like, well, where's Ricky? And he was like, oh, Ricky. He's like, you're Lily? Oh, he forgot about you. He's like, that was years after he forgot his own name, making chains. But
it's an important job.
But as you'll notice, he got really, really old. And then he explains the fact that when you fall into this hell dimension, time speeds up. And in this dimension, 1 day is 100 years. So 100 years will pass in this dimension in the time that they were outside for 1 day.
Yeah, 24 hours is roughly 100 years, which is kind of weird because wouldn't that make Ricky 118?
Maybe they let him out early.
Yeah, did he actually say he was there 100 years? I can't remember.
Maybe it was just like, maybe they work him until they're too old to work.
I guess I just assumed he was missing for a day because
I don't know why
Lily
they wouldn't.
Says he's been missing for a day.
I don't understand why they wouldn't just kill them instead of sending them back out. Maybe that's why they keep all the clothes.
Just to kind of, well, that's probably why they put the drain cleaner, just to explain it so no one goes nosing around where
I think he drank the
people are.
I think he drank that because he was sad and depressed.
I thought it was suicide.
So? Really?
Yeah, I thought it was suicide. You guys think he got killed or suicide? I'm voting suicide.
I would say suicide.
It just seems very hard to make somebody drink.
No, you're right, because he is the one that is wandering, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that like almost gets hit by the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was him.
So yeah, why not kill him? Because they're homeless and they're kids. So chances are people aren't going to be looking for him anyway. Why send him back?
Because that makes it possible for them to be found.
I know, but I want to come up with a better reason than that. But it's just that bothers me now.
It bothers me too. So after Ken explains everything to Buffy and Willow in their cell, they all get lined up outside of the cells, and Buffy starts acting like a smartass and then fucking kicks everybody's ass. She kicks all the asses. Yeah. She's like, I'm going to fucking kill all you motherfuckers.
And that's what's funny. I love this scene, and it's a good action scene, but it felt very like Ninja Turtles to me.
Yeah, and also like it's so obvious it's not Sarah Michelle Gellar from the start. Like you're just like, oh, that's her body double the entire scene. And she does throw that sweet ninja star, and you get that that scene at the end of the last like guitar riff of the intro, that dun dun dun, and she's standing there holding that scythe.
Yeah, I think I counted 3 different scenes that they use in the title sequence.
Yeah, definitely heavy on in.
But I still thought, even though it's clearly a stunt double, it's obviously, and it did feel like she wasn't actually killing any of these. It's more like, oh, I'm going to run up to you, get knocked out, and then another group of Freddy Krueger demons are going to run up and get knocked out.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it.
I also like the fact that all the demons were, they had different faces. Like, they all had a different aesthetic going on. Kind of like a Hellraiser-y thing going on. That was cool. So, at the end of this revolt, essentially Buffy gets captured again, but just kind of held for a second while Ken is up at the top making this long speech, and Lily's behind him, and he kind of like stopped looking at her, and he's like, this is what happens. This is what happens when we catch you trying to seek revenge. And Lily just pushes him off the ledge, and he falls to his supposed apparent demise. Yeah.
At first, that's what I thought. So, yeah, Ken was using her as a hostage and just let her go and stood next to... I mean, there's no safety regulations in hell. Like, they can make chains, but they can't put them against something so you won't fall over things.
You think you would have excess chains?
This chain factory is really, really, really... maybe they're doing a really bad job and they can't keep up with the amount of chains they have to make. So they're like, take the chains off of all of the fixtures so we don't have any like safety, but we got to sell those chains.
Or Ken's boss is coming in. They know they have to make more. They've underproduced, so that's why
the regional hell manager is coming in to make sure that Ken meets his quota.
Yeah, and
he's not. Motherfucker can't make enough chains.
I feel bad for Ken now.
I know. He's a mid-level management as hell. It's a hellish job. And he's in charge of marketing too.
Outreach.
Yeah, he made those flyers himself.
Yeah, screen printing, everything.
So why can't the fucking marketing girl do it?
So they essentially, because Lily pushes him off the ledge, they get the upper hand again. Buffy starts fighting again, and she runs up to a cage door, and she starts lifting it up like fucking Hulk. Like, raw, and she has
it's like a medieval gate.
Yeah, medieval gate. There you go. Like,
Hercules or Schwarzenegger.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, Schwarzenegger reference. So she's like, "Oh, I'm super strong," and then like, but she has no real like exit strategy. You know, like once you lift the thing, you're like, "All right, well now how do I get to the other side and close it?"
I felt her exit strategy was just being thin.
Yeah,
she's like, "I'm thin.
Yeah, I'll be able to work this way out." But Ken, he fixes it for her, right? He comes and throws her through, which is like helping her.
He basically like Goldberg spears her through, right? That's what I thought.
He does a spear, and the cage ends up falling on his calves. And we're like, oh my god, he's alive. But not for long, because he just did this really stupid thing. Like, he came back from the dead, like kind of like in the Scream kind of way, just to die.
Yeah.
So he gets over, there's calves, there's a gate in his calves, and Buffy's just like, oh, fuck this guy, and grabs a sledgehammer that's lying around. What was that?
That was an axe.
Yeah, I thought it was an axe.
Yeah. Grabs an axe that's lying around and finishes off the job. We cut to a scene back in Buffy's shitty apartment, and it looks a lot better now, right? Like, it's a completely different look of the apartment.
She cleaned it for Lily.
Yeah, Lily's coming over, so she scrubbed this thing super clean. And Lily's like, you're leaving? And Buffy's like, you're going to be okay. And she's like, I talked to the guy at the restaurant, and he doesn't really care about his job, so you're hired. And
by the way, those uniforms look like 70s nurse outfit inlined with like a picnic tablecloth. Like, I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So she gives her that outfit, and she's like, here's your tablecloth 1970s nurse outfit. And
it should have been just like a black t-shirt. Wear this.
Yeah.
Something. Here's the logo of the restaurant diner.
So essentially she is leaving Anne with a life, and not Anne. Lily asks her, "Can I take your name too? Can I be Anne?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, you can be Anne." And this isn't the end. This isn't the end of Anne either. Buffy leaves her there, and we will see her again an angel.
So I guess this is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We don't know it.
We don't really know.
But we'll find out
I guess
an
we should have assumed, right? I mean, big city.
Yeah, that she goes under an overpass. And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's,
Yeah.
it's just, it's a nameless city unless
At
you
this
name
point,
it.
until we name it the City of Angels. So
Angela Lewis.
Buffy ends up leaving Anne there and returns home, rings the doorbell to her house, and is greeted by Joyce, who just immediately gives her a big hug.
That's nice.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
That felt, if that had gone any other way, I would have been like, fuck you, Joyce. Kind of, not saying that it's all Joyce's fault, but after a long, I don't know.
It's a good thing Joyce was there.
Yeah, right?
She's normally not.
Just that one day where she's like, yeah, I was here. Maybe she's been there a lot more and working from home, considering that she's waiting for Buffy to come back.
Sure.
Let's just make her a better person and say that.
I guess the alternative would be Buffy waiting on the porch until she came home, and it'd be the same.
mean, she is a slayer, and I assume she could open any window.
It's true.
I think it's a lot more meaningful if she's already there,
Yep.
gives her a hug, as opposed to, like, it sends a different message.
She
if
walks
Buffy's
in.
still there and just sitting on the porch, and Joyce is like, hey.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely not as warming. But yeah, that end scene makes you feel like, oh, Joyce does really care for her.
And also, it leaves open so much. It's like a cliffhanger because you're like, oh, there's so many questions, right?
Nothing's been resolved.
Nothing's been
She
resolved.
comes
It's just
back,
like,
but-
you know that she loves her, but other than that, we got another episode coming.
Yeah.
And we're excited for it.
Yeah. So can I ask you all how you felt about this episode? Maybe initially the first time you saw it and this time around.
You want to go first, Bob?
Sure. No, I think it was a good, like, beginning or first episode of a season because it kind of gave you a little bit of what's going on in the storyline in the previous seasons, and kind of, even though it was mostly Monster of the Week, it kind of gave you kind of a progression or window into what's going to happen and kind of continue on. But I liked it. It was a good...
Do you remember the first time you saw it?
No.
Not even a little bit?
Nope. But that was like 12 years ago, so...
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Well, you should do what we do and just pretend. Nothing, just
Yeah.
make it up.
It's like, yeah, I remember, yeah. I thought it was awesome. Even though it was a Monster of the Week, it was so original. And like I said, the tone felt very Angel. It was kind of cool to get out of the Buffy universe and create an own little, like, kind of landscape right there to do an episode in. They did a really good job in creating a tone and an environment to have this hell dimension kind of thing happen. The first time I saw it, I remember liking it, but not as much as... I think I like it more now than the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it, I wanted all those answers to all those questions. The ones where she gets home and Joyce doesn't say anything, just hugs her. I want to know what happens next. I wanted to know the answer to all those. So knowing those answers, I love this episode a lot more.
See, when I first saw it, I loved this episode. I thought it was a great episode. Watching it now, I kind of feel the opposite of you guys. I like it a lot less.
Really?
Yeah. Tonally, it is very dark, and it does feel like an Angel episode. And I started thinking about it. Well, why? It's not a bad episode, but it's just not what I want from a Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you take Buffy away from the Scoobies, it essentially turns into Angel. Because
Yeah.
she's alone, she's by herself. It's a darker show about death. And I really like Buffy together with everybody and how she interacts. It's a lot more lighthearted.
To play devil's advocate, do you think maybe that was intentional to make you kind of want her to go back home after leaving Sunnydale?
Yeah.
Because essentially leaving that's actually what part of the reason I like it is, like, you're leaving the safeness of Sunnydale, entering a new place, and then, like I said, they did a good job creating that place and you living in that environment, but you long for her to go back. At the end, you're glad that she went back because you're like, this episode was cool and good and self-contained. Part of the reason why I didn't like it before is exactly that it didn't feel like a Buffy episode. It felt out of place. But now I like it more because of that.
Because you want her to go back in that relief
Yeah.
of, oh, she's finally back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as it being like a self-contained episode, I think it did a really good job in getting Buffy back into the mindset of a hero.
Yeah, I'm not. I guess I'm not sure, but I just think it's like tonally maybe not what I wanted. So, and by no means do I think this is a bad episode. It's just it wasn't, like we've been saying, it wasn't a Buffy episode for me. Having her all out on her own in Los Angeles felt strange, off-putting.
So, Jeff, how many people died?
So, people, demons, or vampires, all of the above, right? So Xander ends up killing a vampire. Xander / Cordelia.
Yeah, they make an ice cream sandwich out of one.
There was one vampire. There was 3 demon deaths, all done by Buffy, and 1 human death. So
that's Ricky, right?
Yeah. I want to ask you this. I guess we spoke about it a little bit, but that was suicide, right?
I mean, we can assume it's suicide or not. He died either way, but there weren't enough clues. I mean, that's an Angel episode right there.
Because he did try and walk into a moving car.
Well, that felt more
He
kind
was just
of
lost.
Dementia.
lost and dementia-y. But I think at this point, it's just like living a life like that. Maybe he just bought a bottle of Drano to do himself in. It's a really fucked up way to do yourself in,
Yeah,
right?
there could have been
There's a lot of...
Like, hey, I'm going to liquidate my innards.
Yeah.
It's not smart.
So yeah, 5 deaths in total, 1 vampire, 3 demons, including Ken. I don't know why, I just keep on laughing at that scene. What an idiot.
So dumb, dude.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, Buffy technically killed him, but he killed himself, man.
Yeah, that guy really did himself in.
Do you think maybe he could have made that spear normally, but since he fell off, since he was pushed off, he didn't have, like, he was hurt?
Yeah, maybe that was it. I'm actually picturing what would it be like to have the main bad guy of this hell dimension be in a wheelchair. Like, will he have his own angel? like, I'm not saying that you're not tough when you're in a wheelchair or whatever.
That place was not accessible. Like, you saw that, right? They took off all the safety chains.
They would just
there were no ramps.
He would be on one of those chain swings that little kids sit in, like just those ones that go around like a little diaper one, like a baby swing at a park. He'd be in one of those. They would just lift him up and down. He would just be like, hey, do that, do this. And nobody would take him seriously anymore. It's like, man, Ken's really lost his edge.
Do you think they took him seriously? Because if we're making this like The Office, he's like the regional manager. Are they all just laughing at Ken and his stupid flyers?
Yeah, maybe. And do the demons not age in this dimension?
Well, they age relative to
in that
where
dimension.
they are. So it's not that this dimension is speeding anything up. It's just
so they can leave this dimension and go do whatever they want and come back and live as long of a life. It almost feels like that Dragon Ball Z kind of world where Vegeta and Goku leave.
Time capsule.
Yeah, that was cool. I want to do that.
or like being on a different planet.
Like, essentially, before anything happens that's bad, you could just be like, hold on a minute, open this portal, go in, do whatever you need to do to train for that moment, and come back. So it'd be like, I'm going to go get my PhD, and then be like, 1 second, jump in there and be like the ultimate procrastinator and jump out.
Or you could have a super long, depressing life, and you're like, fuck, I just want to die, all Highlander style.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Living forever, it's not, I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world, just like evidenced by this show, right?
Yeah, absolutely not. Maybe
Angel,
not.
if you have a soul.
So what do we got coming up next? We got a little episode called Dead Man's Party.
Yeah.
Episode 2, Season 3, Episode 2. Dead Man's Party. What do you remember about this episode, Jeff?
I thought Buffy actually came back in this one, but apparently she comes back in Anne.
You thought there was an episode without Buffy?
Yeah, I thought she shows up at the beginning of this, at Dead Man's Party.
I think the only episode without Buffy is Season 6, Episode 1.
So that's what I thought. I do remember that there is it a house party at Joyce's and there's zombies? Or
yes. I don't know if
it's not a house party, right? How do they all end up
I don't
there?
know if it's a house party. I think they are having a get-together of some sort. It's like Buffy's welcome back party of some sort.
Doesn't Willow say, like, we should do something since Buffy's back? Of course, Buffy doesn't want any of this.
None of them want it. They all have, like, demons they want to, like, get out. And essentially, like, they started this party with all these problems between them. And during the party, it gets very emotional, and they all start spouting, like, their discontentment with her. At the same time, that her mom got this shitty mask from who knows where that summons demons to it. And if you put it on.
From whatever art museum she works at
Yeah,
or whatever.
she just gets a whole bunch of fucked up things. Do you remember seeing this episode, Bobby?
I don't, to be
Not
honest.
even a little bit?
No.
But this is like one of the, it's a zombie episode.
Yeah, total zombie episode. There's not very many of them, but this is one of them.
Yeah.
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 Well, we don't have a sign out.
We don't.
I didn't even see one in this one.
Can I do a bad one?
Yeah, you can try.
Definitely...
You can try one. We're not, this isn't the keeper. I hope. Maybe it is. Maybe
oh no, this is not a keeper at all. But come and get it, big boy.
In each generation, two Prose bros are born, chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale.